Hi, everyone, and welcome to History Dweebs. I am Tim. Welcome to the podcast where you take a lighthearted look at the dark side of history. Today, we're going to talk about phrogging. Colonel, you ever frogged before?
I mean, I frogged in college a couple of times, but I don't like to talk about it.
Yeah.
I
threw my back out.
I threw my back out. I needed the money. I did a little bit of frogging.
All right. Well, phrogging, as you may know, is the act of a person secretly living in another person's home. The typical frogger, I love it that there's typical froggers.
The typical frogger.
The typical frogger is someone with nowhere else to live.
That makes sense.
They thrive on staying hidden and most likely to be hidden in rarely visited parts of the home, like an attic, a basement, crawl space. Although it sounds like it might be an urban legend, there are actually several cases of phrogging that have been reported over the years. It's been actually growing. There's been more and more of this going on. One of the most high-profile cases was when singer George Michael found a stalker who had been living under his floorboards for 4 days back in 2012.
There you go.
Yeah, some lady was living, but yeah, so that would be creepy.
Who among us?
You know, as we have discussed other famous froggers in this on this podcast, including Brandy's favorite, Otto in the Attic. Remember Otto?
I remember Otto.
I do.
Yeah.
They
made a movie about him later.
Yes, they did. Yes, they did. You're just such a jackass.
And then, and then the other episode we did was Spider-Man of Denver. Remember that guy?
I remember that guy. You know who is known for frogging, Timmy, is people from Sri Lanka.
Really?
Yes. Sri Lanka, the average height in Sri Lanka is only 5'4", Timmy.
For fuck's sake, just keep reading.
Flogging.
No, frogging, not flogging. That's different.
Flogging. Well, okay.
Frogging.
Yeah, Danny just threw me those details out. Just said.
Oh, good for Danny. Fuck Danny.
Danny misspelled a word there, and that threw the Colonel off.
Danny's a jackass.
Well, let's talk about a famous case in Japan.
Well, hold on. Let me tell you because I'm really.
I have to introduce people.
I'm into etymology. I love etymology. So I looked up the etymology of the word frogging, and it's actually pretty straightforward. It's the term used frog, F-R-O-G, from jumping from place to place. So that's how you get this frog. Now, why it's spelled with a PH, I don't know, but
it's
like fat.
Right, exactly.
Like that.
P-H-A-T? Yeah.
It's unsolicited couch surfing.
Couch surfing, yeah.
Unauthorized couch
surfing. All right, let me introduce our wonderful panel. I am pleased to announce a lady who is known throughout the land as Brandy the Benevolent. Her Majesty, Queen Brandy the First. How are you, Brandy, if at all?
Well, Timmy, not good.
Oh,
it's been, it's been a week of Mercury's in retrograde, and we have a full moon, and it's a super moon, and I work in retail. So let's just say
those are not good combinations.
They really aren't. And so last week was a hot mess, but I'm going on vacation next week. The next Sunday when we speak, I will be by the ocean.
You gonna be
I'm not going to Florida.
Well, you said you were going to that. You said you were going to the
5 or 6 times.
Headphone land, and then
I don't want to talk to you guys anymore.
Disney World. I was just trying to
No.
figure out your vacation, Brandy.
No, you're not. Okay. I'm going to the Outer Banks. Did anybody not hear that?
No,
The
you
Outer
never
Banks are
said it. Why
located
would we
in
hear? How
North
would we hear it?
Carolina.
Well, not
Well, I
psychic,
did
for
say it.
fuck's sake.
Anyway,
I don't know why
so
anyone would have their bank on the ocean. I mean, people, why don't you just use your ATM?
Right.
what the fuck are you even talking about?
Put the banks on land. Why I got to get on a goddamn boat to get to a bank?
I just can't with you all. Introduce Chuck so we can hear his bullshit. Because I got a hard stop at noon.
Well, it feels
Well,
like we've gone deep into Brandy time already. So
I really love that you both show up on time for shit. So that's amazing. So that's how my day's been. You were not anywhere. You were like, I'm on my way. I'll be there in a minute. And then it takes you like 20 minutes to get to your fucking basement.
you don't realize.
Jesus, suffering Christ.
My-
Because we never record at 10 o'clock on a Sunday morning.
Because I was
that time's
down at the
arbitrary.
nice house down at the end of the street.
Yeah.
Hurry up and get up here.
You don't realize that
Yeah.
my wife will be returning home in a couple of days, and the place has to be cleaned.
Oh, do we have a return
I don't
date? Nice.
Well,
care.
we hope so.
Okay.
But they can deny her entry, so we're just hoping that doesn't happen. But if it did, it'd give me a few more days to clean.
Well,
I mean,
now, where's she coming through? Because,
CVG.
so they would deny. See, you could sneak through security there.
She has a 6-month visa, but we don't. There's no she had to leave because her 6 months was up, right?
Yeah.
And okay, so I thought, okay, surely now because that 6 months visa lasts for 10 years, so you can come in and out for 6 months at a time. But
How long you got to be gone for?
well, that's the question.
I think it'd be a minimum of like a day, right? I mean, it can be just a day or two.
Just
right?
go to Canada.
No, it's arbitrary. It's based upon whatever the immigration officer you get says. So we're hoping that she'll be here on Tuesday, but maybe not.
So have you been?
Great.
So they're going to ask her questions like, "Have you been rehabilitated?"
Yeah.
You've only been gone. How long has she been gone?
3 weeks. 3 weeks.
3 weeks.
No. But yeah, so we're hoping she gets in. But yeah, I mean, they could give her the 3rd degree.
Well,
She's kind of shady. She is kind of shady.
I know, but I feel confident that she can handle herself. Can you introduce Chuck?
She's lived a whole life.
Chuck's introduced himself.
Getting around, beating the system. So
Well, Chuck, she's fake Irish, so
she's an international woman of mystery, Timmy. She'll get back into the country.
She's a real life Carmen Sandiego. That's what she is.
All right, so we have to strategically put our sponsor ad before I introduce Chuck. Because that's when everyone starts to pay attention.
Well, that's true.
That's fine. Cool.
It's Black Cat and Me at
Etsy.com.
Etsy.com. All right, let me introduce the Colonel. He's a man who is well respected throughout the world. You can even go to Zimbabwe, and you see, someone walking down, a woman walking down the street with a big thing, vase on her head or whatever. And you say, "What do you think about the Colonel?" About the Colonel,
Yeah.
and she said, I respect him.
Timmy, it's funny you mention that because a friend of mine decided, they were going to try to descend Everest. Average age for a man in Japan is 5'8". So
that's his average age.
How old are you? I'm 5'8".
I'm sorry, the average height for a man.
He's mitching again.
5'8".
He's mitching again.
Now, see, I would fit in well. I'm 5'6", so I would fit in well in Japan.
You'd be a giant among men.
I might be. I'm definitely probably heftier than most Japanese people.
When I looked into this research,
they walk on your back in Japan.
The only thing
with your permission.
Okay.
Made me happy is that on average, Americans are taller than Canadians. We're not taller than Germans, but we're taller than Canadians.
I didn't know that.
Didn't care about that.
And did
But
you know that? And importantly, on average, men from Denmark have the largest penises.
Yeah, I'm
That-
not buying that.
That's a stat that you can look up and take.
I'm not buying that.
That's where you get the word Great Dane.
That's an amazing story. So authorities arrived and found that the stranger was a teenager named David LaPlante, whom Tina had briefly dated, and he'd been living in the family's crawl space for several weeks, taunting them all the while. Okay, is his name David or Daniel?
No, I'm sorry. It's Daniel LaPlante.
Okay. So Daniel LaPlante was born May 15th, 1970 in Townsend, Massachusetts. And he allegedly suffered traumatic sexual and psychological abuse during his childhood at the hands of his father, and then as a teen at the hands of his psychiatrist. God, people suck.
Well, that's just how's that? You get
It is Daniel
abused.
LaPlante.
You get abused, so you go to see a psychiatrist.
And the
And then-
psychiatrist abuses you.
Yeah.
It's fucking whatever.
Fucked up thing.
Well,
Man,
he's got a
look
split
at-
personality
look
from
at-
it. He's David
look
and
at this-
Daniel, so
Look
he's
at this
Right.
dude.
Yeah, split
Yeah.
personality.
Look up Daniel LaPlante. He looks like a fucking psycho.
LaPlante's environment was no less chaotic. His family's
Look him
house and
up. I'm
surrounding.
serious.
Okay, I'm reading right now, so I'm not going to do that. But his family's house and surrounding grounds were reportedly a mass of junk and old cars. LaPlante attended St. Bernard's High School in Fitchburg, where he was described by students and faculty as a loner and not particularly friendly. By the 1980s, a neighbor had grown concerned over LaPlante's many solo excursions into the woods behind his home. According to the Boston Globe, quote, you'd see him walk out there by himself. That's the only place you would see him, in the woods, end of quote.
Let me just say real quick. I did look him up. What he looks like. He looks like every dude from the 70s. Every dude in the 70s looked like that. You all look like serial killers.
Yes.
Froggers.
Yes.
Fucking
Diagnosed with
Froggers. I don't like Froggers. They're kind of like hobos.
They are.
yeah, but you love good hobo.
I want to go to Hobo Convention, but I can't this year because we had to go to England, and it's happening this. It happened last week.
Ugh. Diagnosed
Dan,
with
would you like to go
hyperactivity-
to a Hobo Convention with me in Iowa?
I would go to one in England. I feel like the hobos in England would be more polite.
They're a little
You better-
classier.
American hobos can be very rude.
They are. They are. They're.
You talk about someone who eats sardines, Colonel.
Mm.
Yeah. And Carl
Hobo-
Panzram found out the hard way about American hobos. They're not the friendly, sit around the fire, tell stories type people that you would think they were.
Because what happened to him, Colonel?
Well, were it not for hobos, Carl Panzram may have become an upstanding member of society. But he jumped on the train with 12, jumped in a train car with 12 hobos. And they took advantage of 12-year-old Carl, and they turned him into a just complete psycho killer. So,
Fucking hobos.
All right.
hobos.
You know what I've always been fascinated by is I don't know what's it called, the hobo code, like what they draw
Like the
on
language?
houses. Yeah.
Yeah.
Like
Yeah.
they'll say a dishonest
friendly
man lives here, or
Or
they've got
someone,
money.
Friend-
or they'll
Yeah.
help you.
Yeah,
Yeah,
Or
they had a
they'll
symbol
let-
for a dog.
yeah.
They'll let you sleep with your sister.
The wife's
Yeah.
a squirter, whatever.
yeah. You can stay
Fucking
here, but
hobos.
whatever you do, don't sleep with my daughter.
Anything else?
You know,
we
when a hobo dies, they get in a circle and they all drink from a bottle of Ripple.
Mm-hmm. It's a
Or
hobo funeral.
some cheap, yeah.
It's called the hobo goodbye.
What do you think about
Is
that,
it-
Brandy?
Now, Brandy, could you could you continue the story for us, please? This was fascinating stuff, and if you could just stick to the topic, we would appreciate it.
She has a hard time sticking to the topic.
Yes.
Diagnosed with hyperactivity disorder, Chuck can go fuck himself by the psychiatrist who allegedly sexually abused him. LaPlante became a neighborhood thief by 15.
Hold on. Okay. So he's
Oh,
diagnosed with hyperactivity disorder by the psychiatrist who sexually abused him. Is this because he tried to run away every time the psychiatrist was trying to bugger the poor little guy? I mean, what? Of course he's hyperactive. He's beating on the goddamn door. Let me out of here! Let me out of here! Let me out of here! I mean,
the first time that happens, you should claim that you're cured, right? Like,
yeah. I'm much better now. Insight. Yeah, I'm much better now.
I have this tremendous insight now. Thank you. I won't be coming to next week's session.
Exactly. Continue, Devil. Fascinate us. Regale us more with this tale, Devil.
I'd love to, but it's Timmy's writing, so I'm going to do the best I can. Let's see. He broke into Townsend's homes during the evening, stole occupants' valuables, and then he graduated to mind games. I don't know if that's the natural progression, but okay. It was clear to the police.
Keep on playing those mind games forever.
Sing it, girl.
Who was that?
It was clear to the police that LaPlante had been living in the Bowens home for weeks. Following his arrest at the Bowden home, LaPlante was held in a juvenile facility until October of 1987, when his mother remortgaged her house, ensuring his $10,000 bail. 2 months.
I just want to point out David LaPlante. He's from. He has a. His family,
Daniel.
Or Daniel LaPlante. His family was from France, and they were named. They said, "What are you going to? What name you want?" And he said, "Oh, I don't know. Name me after the plant there." So LaPlante.
LaPlante.
That's an amazing story.
Oh my God!
You know what could have been the worst possible outcome is David has a serious accident, goes into a coma, right, for a long time, and then the nurse has to go say, "I have to go check in on LaPlante." And everybody would think, I have to water LaPlante. Everybody would think she was just such an asshole.
Hold on, you stupid fuckers. The boy's name is Daniel. Stop calling him David.
Oh,
okay.
Yeah, we don't
but they wouldn't call him David. They'd say, I got to go check on LaPlante. I got to make sure LaPlante's getting sunlight. Go read. Go talk. Go talk to LaPlante. Because
so we're good.
Because plants are supposed to do well when you talk to them and then grow.
Yes, they are.
So what I'm trying to do is tie in. You might not be getting this.
You're not tying in anything.
Tie in him being in the vegetative state and being named LaPlante.
State.
So
okay. While awaiting trial, LaPlante moved home.
Oh, sorry, Devil, got a little tickle in my throat there. You know what that's like, Devil, don't you? Little tickle in your throat. Go ahead, pull my hair. I want to be. Pull my hair. Sorry. Continue.
What's your thoughts on that, Brandy?
You look less than amused, Devil. Can I just while we're doing
I mean, here's this problem with women.
Yeah, well, here we go. I'm going to sit back and just take this on. Let me get a piece of paper and take some notes.
Thank you for listening to our last episode ever. It's been a good run.
Wait, Colonel, the women all he's concerned with. Don't get it in my hair.
Right.
Get it in my hair. Right. But then they don't, how you can solve that problem?
Exactly. Don't let it, keep it contained. Exactly. Don't let it outside the container and it won't get in your hair.
Brandy, this is why women need to listen to this podcast. They can learn to get along better with their mates.
Yeah, because some women have really long hair. I see now that you're going with the soccer mom look now, Devil, but the women that have long hair, well, I mean, you change your hairstyle up a lot, so I think that's sometimes because You're wanted by the FBI. But anyway, yes, they never would. You know what I never
Which you can do
did
nothing
is-
about because you're too old to be an agent. So you could not hunt her down.
It would
Yeah, you are
seem
too
that it would seem that, you know, okay, you can wash your hair or whatever, but you wouldn't want it in your ear. Don't get it in my ear because, you know, you could get an ear infection, block off stuff.
Yeah.
I don't know.
I mean,
But
yeah.
you make
Or
an
if
excellent point.
Or if you take out, you get Q-tips right afterwards, you'll be okay.
But you make an excellent point, Timmy. If you don't want it to get in your hair, keep that container hermetically sealed.
Exactly.
And it won't do it. Yeah.
What's your thoughts on that, Brandy?
The more you know.
You feel better.
Oh, I wish you would continue with the story because it's getting kind of late.
It is getting low. I got to get to work.
While awaiting trial, fuck you. While awaiting trial, LaPlante moved home and continued his daytime burglary spree.
Well,
On
yeah,
October
no need to
14th.
stop. I mean, he's out on bail.
He's only good at a couple things.
You would think that would have been a condition of his bail, though.
Yeah.
that
No
let him out.
burglary. See, that was
No
illegal oversight, Timmy. That's why our justice system is so jacked up.
On
Continue,
October 14th,
Brandy.
1987, he stole two 22 caliber firearms from a neighboring house. On November 16th, 1987, LaPlante burglarized the home of the
Gustafson family.
which included pregnant nursery school teacher Priscilla Gustafson, her husband Andrew, and their two children, 5-year-old William and 7-year-old Abigail. But this wouldn't be the last time LaPlante broke into their home. On December 1st, 1987, LaPlante walked through the woods separating his house from the Gustafsons.
Oh, how'd you like to have those motherfuckers as an next door neighbor?
He
Yeah,
later claimed that he didn't expect Priscilla and her children to come home. What happened next is every family's worst nightmare. According to retired Pepperdine Lieutenant Thomas Lane, LaPlante considered jumping out of the window and escaping. Instead, he confronted Priscilla with a gun and led her and her son to the bedroom, putting William in the closet and tying Priscilla to the bed using makeshift ligatures and gagging her with one of his socks.
Okay, hold on. What did he do with the other sock? Is the guy just walking around with one sock here? Because that just looks ridiculous.
But the officer name was Tommy Lane.
Yeah.
I didn't even know she lived in Massachusetts.
After raping Priscilla, LaPlante shot her twice in the head. He then took William into the bathroom. As he was leaving, he encountered Abigail Gustafson, who was returning home on the school bus.
Say this. Dash is a good boy, but he's a terrible dog. He is the worst dog ever. I mean, someone could kick in the door and he would just be, hello, let me lick your face. You got a treat? Oh my God. He's a lab. Yeah.
Dash had a birthday yesterday.
A lab.
He turned 8 years old. My good boy. Yep.
See, that's like 18 in people years.
Yeah.
I have the best of both worlds. I have the pre-warning system in Bo. Bo will let me know that an Amazon delivery has been made 3 doors up, and this sumbitch might be coming back to kill us all. And I have Rudy, who just sits on the couch and waits for the front door. And this is a true story. People that Rudy, even if the people Rudy knows that they're familiar with, Rudy will not let them in the house until someone from the residence comes up and says, "It's okay, Rudy," and then he'll be very happy and very gentle and very, he's very playful. But if he thinks that, well, they don't know you're coming, he will stand at the door, show his teeth, and say, "Hey," like basically like Clint Eastwood in one of the old spaghetti westerns. He'll just stare you down, showing those canine, because he's half German Shepherd. So
I think we've heard enough of Chuck today.
Well, let me just recommend to all of our listeners out there, if you think you have a frogger in your house, here's what I would do.